See, I'm
All
still
right,
checking.
welcome back to Agree to Disagree. Hope everybody's doing well. My week is going well so far, as well as it can go. I do have the number one African in the world here. Where you at? Oh, hurry up! All right. He's here. Anthony had to Skype in because he had to work. So we're doing good. So everybody, introduce yourselves in case people don't know who you are yet.
Hi everybody, my name is Kwame. I'm a full-blown African American, not the fake ones that y'all have here. Yeah, that's all I got.
Purebred. Go ahead.
Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Anthony. Yeah.
Yo, what's good? This is JT checking in from South Florida.
Okay.
Yep. This is Richie here in South Florida as well.
Sounds good. So today's topic will be about Black mental health.
What about the ladies?
Oh, Haney, she's on mute. She's on a conference call.
Okay.
Today will be about Black mental health. What do we have for that, Haynes, JT? Y'all want to kick it off?
Let me start by saying that I feel like all Black people would never get away from mental health, and we always gonna need a therapist. Let's start there. What y'all think? Y'all think let's say it this way. So I know, like, when I grew up, like, therapy wasn't a thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, we didn't really talk about it. I didn't know any therapists. People used to say people were crazy, but we didn't really know what that meant for real. You have people, what we consider coaches now, but you have people that really try to help people with problems and stuff like that. But we never called them, a clinician or nothing like that. But in terms of what Black people have been through,
okay. I'm in now.
she here now.
I ain't see you.
In terms of what we've been through, as far as Black people, like I feel like we always gonna need therapy. Like, we really messed up. And with the continuation of the trauma, and just the downright mistreatment of people that look like all of us on this call, like, we really gonna need some help because we gotta really navigate through this water. So I'll leave the rest of it up to the therapist though.
You guys, y'all too. You want to introduce yourself, Miss Latoya?
Yes. How y'all doing? I'm Latoya Stevenson. I am a social worker down in South Florida, in West Palm Beach to be specific. My area of expertise is Black mental health because clearly I'm Black, and B, my people mean a lot to me, and mental health is something that I'm passionate about. I've been in the field the last 7 years, so I'm excited to be here to talk with y'all.
Sounds good. I appreciate it. Haynes, did you want to capitalize off of JT, or are you ready for me to go?
I'm sorry, say again, what?
Not you, Haynes. You chose shit. You ain't ready yet.
Oh,
I'm just playing, Haiti. I love you. No, I was. Were you ready for me to go? Did you want to capitalize off of what JT just said?
Are you talking to me now?
No, I agree with it. I agree with what JT said. I feel like in our culture, in our community, we don't address, or we were taught, taboo. When we about mental health growing up, it was, you were just crazy. That was it. It wasn't, dang, I'm really dealing with some stuff, or it's not normal for me to walk outside and see a dead body and be able to keep trucking on the next day, or living in poverty and keep, like, moving forward and not realize I become numb to such a, what's the word? I become numb to such a dysfunctional community.
Yeah.
So I feel like by us addressing it as on this platform, saying, okay, how can we now get to the next level of Black mental health, and what does that look like as a community?
For me, it's people reassuring that going to go seek therapy is okay. And you're not gonna be scolded, looked down upon. You got a lot of people thinking that, oh, I'm gonna lose my job, and if they find out that I'm going to go see therapists, like all these different things. And I ain't gonna lie, it terrified me until I was actually ordered to go one time. So then it was like, but after I went, I was like, hey, this ain't bad. Yeah, I had to go for a reason, but then after that, with relationship issues, end up then going to go see a marriage counselor. I probably got more out of that than hell, obviously she did. But then from there, I went and got my own personal therapist because I was like, this is cool talking to somebody that ain't gonna judge me, as long as you don't say them 4 fatal things, I'm going home tonight. You know what I mean? So I feel good about going. I'll probably continue to go, off and on for the rest of my life, and encouraging other people to go, because a lot of people, they're just, we said it before we even went live, a lot of people just flat out scared. And they're scared because the way I grew up, the way a lot of us grew up, ain't no bitch in my blood, like don't ain't no softness allowed over here. Only people that was really allowed to show emotions were the females. And even then, that had a cap to them too. Black little girls, they had to be strong in their own way. They was only allowed to cry if they got like physically hurt. Get your black ass in the screen. Come over here. Scoot over.
I can see.
So there's a lot that can be done. Do I think it would be something quick, short, easy fix? Absolutely not. Do I think there will always be a fear of going? Yes, because I had people laugh at me for going to therapist until I'm like, I bet you'd be glad I go to therapy if you realize what I would have done 4 years ago if I hadn't been going to therapy. And then that makes them step back. But then even that sucks, because while I'm vocal like that and I'm unfiltered like that, that's gotten me in some hot water too. Because
Can I say something?
Yeah, you can say something.
This is you up therapy.
Yes.
Woo! Okay.
So I'm a lot better now. But the thing is, a lot of people they still judge you. And I think that's what scares a lot of people off, is just judgment. Just judgment. They're from their own household, their own friends, their own family, everything. Judgment.
So
Go ahead.
I think if we move, like, if you take it a whole step further, right? It was not known, like therapy was a luxury, right? It was just for the rich, or it's for different skin colors. Black people didn't even know about. Like I didn't even know about therapy until I came to America, and I'm pretty sure most of the people back home don't know about it. It's because as you've been talking about, it's not common. If you're dealing with any issue, you just suck it up. Just go sleep about it, or go walk it off, or something like. Those are the things that they tell us most of the time for us to deal with it. But like once you start talking to somebody, it's just the mere fact. I used to think like, okay, why would I go lie on the couch and just let somebody listen to me for 45 minutes and pay the person $100 or $20? But that was so simple-minded thinking, right? Like it's just you don't see how big or how effective that you lying down talking to the person about anything, regardless of what it is. It actually helps you out mentally. So I think in our community, if we can get to a point where at least people see a therapy at least once a week, I think it will help a lot of things out. Like it's gonna change a lot of things. That's all I gotta say from the beginning.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I think from my perspective, and to put a little background behind who I am and my past, after serving 11 years, 4 months military, working for the government and so forth, as a black male coming from Virginia, when you're raised and you're told to suck it up, we ain't got time for your tears, it kind of messes with you as a kid through adulthood. And then even in the military, they tell you, you don't go talk to a psych professional because that's going to mess up your career. That's going to mess up your clearance. When you deploy, you come back from deployment. So my first deployment was 2003. When we got back, there was no go talk to a specialist. It was, hey, you good? All right, cool. And it wasn't until later on when you get back, they ask you, it went to did you see anything? Yes, I did. How do you feel? I'm good. Okay, next. And then now, because they're seeing the suicide rate has gotten so bad in the military, not just from deployment, but also from the medication the VA prescribes you. They prescribe you all the different medications that they don't even see what the contraindications are, and it causes people to kill themselves. I've had too many people I've known from the units I served in that unfortunately they went that route because of stressors, and then for my own personal, like I camp, going through a crazy ass divorce, dealing with a crazy ass ex, you get kids involved, you're in the military, you're deploying, you got all these different stressors compound, and then with our community, we don't talk about it, and when you're let's say when you're Black and you go to different places around the world, it's hard for me to meet up with people and want to express myself to someone. So that whole route of wanting to talk to people that you don't know is not easy, especially when you spend a life of you don't talk to people because you have people in your business. They're gonna look at you differently. They're gonna talk to you differently. They're gonna talk all this crap behind your back. And so that's just something you didn't do. So it wasn't until literally in the last, for me, 2-3 years, because of my current wife that I have now, that she forced me to go into the VA. Lo and behold, I'm like, oh shit, this actually does help. It does help when you sit down and talk to people. Forget all the crap that you've heard growing up as a Black male in our community, when you don't talk to people about your issue. You keep it to yourself. You keep it all balled in until you one day end up blowing up or blowing off with somebody. And that like today's topic is a great topic to talk about, because that is an issue within our community, because we don't talk to people. We're told not to. We're told to suck it up, and that's the unfortunate thing.
So I'll jump in. When we're talking about Black mental health specifically, we have to tap into the Black experience, right? We have to realize that just because something is our norm, it doesn't mean that it's normal. I'm from New Orleans. I grew up in the Ninth Ward. Like when I was growing up, New Orleans was the murder capital. That's what it was known for. So it was normal to see violence. It was normal to see drug use, drug selling. It was normal to see a lot of things that aren't your typical norm if you get out of certain areas. So with that being said, when it comes down to Black mental health, a lot of us have developed what I like to call a culture of secrecy, right? We don't want people in our business. We don't want to share what we're going through, mainly for fear that somebody is going to use exactly what we're going through against us. And that's one of the things that kind of stops a lot of us from seeking therapy. But the beauty of it is, once you reach that milestone where you know that this is something that you need and that it could potentially help you, and you choose to explore that option and actually get the realization for yourself, like, man, this is something that I could use. Man, this is something that I'm willing to follow through with. Then you start to see the benefit. Because I'm a big proponent for therapy. I'm a big advocate for therapy because I do believe that it works.
I think therapy probably, it made me feel better for obviously a number of reasons, but there was things that you can't tell your significant other, or you don't want to tell your significant other. And I get it. People thinking in relationships, certain relationships, hold no secrets, this and a third. But I also am a big believer at people will use anything that they can against you, even if it's something that's not necessarily bad, if it's just something, whether it's embarrassing or just emotional in general. And when you go to a therapist and you just know, like, I can literally tell this person anything up to this point or describe it in more of a milder way, then you get that off your chest and you can reside for your next week or 2 weeks, whatever your intervals are, and you're good. And if anybody wanted to throw opinion or throw shade, throw the judgment at me, it's kind of like, well, fuck it. It don't matter. It just doesn't matter. And I think people are just like Anthony said, people are shy. And I'm good. Black men and Black women, but I do say Black men I'm good the shit out of their life. I'm good the shit out of our lives.
Right. That's what
because I was straight here and say, so my therapy sessions are once every 2 weeks. I know it's not enough. I'm content, but I like to see my therapist more than that. because up and for one day, for every day up until that next time I see him, I'm good in the rest of my day. Every day up until I see him, and then come in, and then from there, I'm like, all right, I just need to smile and wave at people, because other than that, they think I'm mad, and that shit sucks. That shit truly sucks. What up, solidarity? I can't pronounce big words. You try me. But so if you don't know, now you know this. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Jacob Finn. Nice to meet y'all.
Yeah.
Work at the clinic on base.
What up?
Hey, how y'all doing?
So the topic, Black mental health.
Black mental.
Black mental health.
All right.
So, and I know you work over at the clinic, so you see all the crazies. So, but go ahead, JT. I know you got some. Haynes, I know y'all got something.
Oh, you
I'm gonna jump in. JT, you want to take it, or you want me to start?
Go ahead, bro. I'm gonna say my.
All right. So I'm gonna say this. When you're talking about mental health as a whole, it doesn't start with seeing a therapist. A therapist, you can work to that level. It starts as simply just talking to somebody in your circle that you're comfortable with, that's not going to judge you or pass, any type of bias that you feel comfortable with. And then it elevates to a peer specialist, to a coach, to a life coach, to a therapist. But just really having an outlet, a healthy outlet, so that you're freeing up your thought process and that you're not entrapping yourself with these thoughts. For example, one of our homeboys earlier today, wrote poetry. That's a form of therapy. Everything that was on the inside came out, and it came out in a healthy manner to where when he was able to look back and reflect on it, it was some legit shit. And me being a therapist, that's what I like to see is really when you come to me, I want to hear your issues. I want to help you resolve them and reframe them. But I also want to hear your positives. I also want to hear what you're doing to maintain yourself and taking care of yourself as the individual versus coming to me and expecting me to be the be all end all. And a lot of people will go to therapy thinking that therapist is going to be the medicine. The therapist is only supposed to be there to help guide you through this process. We are a change agent. We're not the medicine or the penicillin. JT?
I just want to say that I'm allergic to penicillin, so. Hey man, first of all, Haynes, you gotta get out of here, bro. Like I was kind of along the same lines, but I want to like kind of pivot this a little bit and say, as Black men, like particularly, therapy doesn't have value like other things have value, and so that's why a lot of us really don't take advantage of it because we don't believe in the value of it. If we valued it, like let's be honest, you get a brand new car, you want to wash it every day. You value your car, right? So you'll do the same thing. The other part of it is that trust component. And so as Black people, like, let's be honest, like, we don't trust people for real. And so like we have this issue of trusting and allowing people to enter our inner circle and enter our mind, so to speak. So you're like, oh, go see a therapist. Who this person you want me to go talk to? I don't know them from a can of paint. Like, what's good with that? So I think also too, to kind of move it a little bit further, and excuse my language, but if you ain't got nobody to talk to, you got some piss poor ass friends, and you got some poo ass friends, because you gotta have somebody in your circle that's gonna give it to you. I'm from the muck, so you got to get it to you blood raw. This is how we said it down south. If I don't have no friends that's gonna give it to me straight, no chaser, and I can't go to them and be able to express myself, I have a very serious ass problem. Because what we talked about earlier in terms of the financial part of it, historically, like we didn't have the funds to be able to afford therapy. We get that part of it. The EAP is kind of, in my opinion, kind of newer thing, but they kind of put a cap on the number of sessions you can have and stuff like that. So we have these barriers to even just starting the process and getting somebody that we can really work with. And so I think that kind of puts us in a bind as well. So I'm gonna start there.
On the whole friends aspect, yes, tenfold. If you ain't got nobody to talk to, you got some piss poor ass friends. But now what you got is a lot of people that don't know. They don't. You can have good friends that listen to you, but that's not saying them friends ain't gonna judge you. You know. And there lies the difference in therapy work. Like one thing I do want to go back to that Haynes said was about knowing the steps before you even need therapy, right? And before we're done, I want one of you three being in that realm of work employment to explain the difference between a life coach, psychiatry, psychology, and so on and therefore, because you got people that don't know where they should go seek. They just go to their behavioral health counselor and say, I need somebody to talk to. And next thing you know, they downtown Ventura in the psych ward, and they didn't intend to be there. They just wanted somebody to talk to.
Right.
What were you gonna say?
No, you're right. No, my point about friends is like, so an example, if I have piss poor friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, they say if you hang around if you hang around 4 million years, you end up being the 5th millionaire, right? So meaning if I have good friends,
Right.
the likelihood of me being better myself is very, very high. Now, if my friends ain't that good, then I should stay away from those people. So I guess what I'm trying to say is like, for black people and for black men, I would say I can't talk for a whole black people. I'll talk for black men. One thing that we tend to do is we tend to stick to one person, right? Or let's say a clique. The furthest you can go is like 2 people, right? These are my kinfolk. These are the 2 people that I talk to. So if these 2 people, their point of opinion is like it's not really their POV is not really that great, I tend to side with them because they're the only people that I can talk to, which is really, really bad because at the end of the day, if I really want to hear some real shit, and if I come to Marcus or if I come to Anthony, and Anthony's going to tell me what I have to hear, those are not the good things for me. I have to seek out help from different people. But unfortunately, some of the people, because I don't trust them, I don't like to go to talk to them. So I end up bottling that thing in. That's why black people end up dropping dead by 45, 46 years because of a whole lot of shit that they've been balled up in. So it's like, I would say this. I think opening up your social circles, like regardless of who you are, like you should be able to talk to anybody, everybody. And to me, talking to people is a form of therapy for me. I don't have to come sit in the chair and talk to you. I can meet you in the street and talk about anything else. All you're doing is you're helping me relieve some other tension in my head or making me feel comfortable. So when it comes to friends, it's really, really dicey because if my friends suck and they're the only people that I got, they're the only people I'm gonna go to and talk to. You get what I'm saying?
So
Go ahead, because I know you got some. Go ahead.
So overall, like,
No.
all right. Go ahead. You don't say well.
No, you're right.
All right, yeah. So I don't really agree with talking with everyone because not everyone has your best intention at heart. So like,
Yeah.
if you were to
Go ahead. You good? Go ahead.
yeah, so if you were to say something, that was like really personal to you, you share that with just anyone. Like I said, people may not necessarily have your best interest at heart, so they can give you bad advice. But if you're willing to talk to people that you know have your best interest at heart, like I think I have some fairly good friends who, if I was to talk to them, they may not tell me what I want to hear, but it's what I need to hear.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. Personally, for my circle, I feel that the therapy that you need is just talking to people and them giving you some type of advice. Like, even if it's something that you don't need to hear, but it's something you want to hear, it still helps you at the end of the day because it eases your mind, at least to some extent. But yeah.
More often than none, I feel like no advice is what's really being sought. You just want to be heard. That's
Right.
it. You just want to get it off your chest. If you want to say fuck that couch, you want to just say fuck that couch. Not get a reply. Well, why? Why fuck the couch? Shouldn't you sit on it first? Like, no. It's like you just want to say fuck that couch. I don't like the way it's sitting there in that corner. Like, that's just how you feeling. And certain friendships, and it all depends on, it's the dicey subject because friendship can be defined in so many different ways. And so saying that your friends should be who you go to talk to, like you said, you got some friends that'll always tell you what you want to hear. Then you got some friends that'll tell you what you need to hear. Then you got some friends that ain't gonna tell you shit at all. And all three of them friends, nothing in the world makes them a shitty person because they all contribute as a friend somehow, some way. But you do need to find that outlet, that therapy. And I'm glad Hank said it. You do need to find that therapy, whether it's writing poetry, singing a song, YouTube, and whatever it is, that's going to relieve that stress off your back all the way up until the point to where you find yourself needing an actual therapist. And I think what's up from my point of view, there's so many people in this world that right off the rip, they need a therapist. They don't need good friends. They need a damn therapist. You know what I mean?
Right.
No, so getting people comfortable with therapy, that's the struggle. Letting people know that you're not gonna lose your job, or this is where you're protected with this law on why you can't lose your job. Because like I had one guy in my last unit that I'm gonna call him a pharmaceutical. Whatever he did, no, I'm just saying. Whatever he did, he dealt with something that was revolved around creating some kind of drug for people. But anyway, it was a high stressful job. They had a free therapy thing that all employees were able to go and see, supposedly, and it wasn't supposed to be reportable unless you said those fatal things, you're not going home tonight things, and everything was supposed to be good. Well, came up time for review, personnel review, and clearance reviews and all that stuff. They canned his ass. They straight canned him. Why they threw him away? Because he went and saw the therapist that they said it was okay to go see. And they thought he was crazy because the therapist, and I'm sitting here like, no, there's got to be a legal somewhere. You suing somebody, you getting at somebody. But what it was, in my opinion, and I'm not a lawyer or nothing like that, but the way I saw it is it was because he went and saw a therapist. His manager thought he was crazy, so they were looking for anything, any way they could do something to fire him. Because who wants to work with a crazy guy? Instead of just saying this is a man that's went to go get some help, it's he's crazy because he went and got some help. But what's more crazy is those that don't go get help.
Well, can I step in?
Yeah, go ahead, Hank. Hold on, real quick.
I was gonna say, what most people don't realize is that you're in control of your therapy session or treatment. Like, what most people feel like the therapist is that be all end all that have all this, authority over you. As the client, as the patient, you choose your therapist. You choose the person that you want to work with. You choose that therapeutic relationship. You're not supposed to just go because they assigned it to you. And every good therapist will tell you that if I'm not a good fit for you, Marcus, then I need to refer you out to Latoya because she might be a better fit for you. But coming into therapy, a lot of people don't realize that you have that authority. Like if I go to a therapist that is absolutely racist and he takes me on as a client, you think he's going to do me any good in treatment just because he has a title, a therapist behind his name? No, he's probably going to cause more harm than good to me. And so just really knowing what you're walking into, and what JT said a while ago, is also with Black mental health, finding like you and talk like you, not finding a therapist that over talks you or talk at you, but speak your language, speak your language culturally and understand what your background is. And they'll be able to implement therapeutic approaches that you can understand and you'll grasp. So you don't feel like, okay, dang, I feel like I'm crazy walking out of here and all this person did was listen. Most of the times a bad therapist will just listen because they don't know what to tell you. They don't know how to, and they can't relate to you. So sit there and let you talk your heart out, they work and charge you $150 to $200 for that session and say, I can't wait to see you next week. And so I said all that to say, you are responsible for your therapeutic relationship. If you at any point don't feel comfortable with that therapist, then you have the right to ask for a different therapist. And even if you're working with the VA or the military, my own thing is when I started seeing therapists at the VA, I realized there were no African-American male therapists in that VA. I demanded to see an African-American male therapist. So they had to go outside the VA system to find me an African-American male therapist because they knew that it's my therapeutic treatment. And if I'm not comfortable in that therapeutic treatment, it's not going to work.
Respect.
Right.
Oh,
I
Anthony,
got a
Anthony,
question.
get
No,
his
it's just a
first.
question I was gonna ask. Before I forget.
All right, go ahead.
Hey, so since y'all three all work in that field, right? Is it better for a black dude to see a Caucasian therapist or a black dude to see a black therapist?
We'll get there.
Big-
We'll get there. Hold on, Anthony, go ahead.
Anthony, okay,
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say the hardest part of that. I agree with everything everyone's saying, but the hardest part is that first step, because it's not easy to sit here and say, "All right, I need to go and talk to someone." It took my wife, excuse me, it took my wife telling me that, "Hey, you really need to go see someone." And even before then, I had tried it when I was in Germany, and I got back from my second or third deployment. I don't remember which one it was. I went to go talk to an Army guy. Like you said, you don't see. I don't think I've ever seen a black male or woman therapist. Not to my knowledge, I've never seen them. And the first one I went to, I was like, "All right, I'm gonna give it a try," because it got to a point where in the mornings I had to wake up and I had to drink some alcohol. Like if I didn't have at least one beer when I woke up in the morning time, I had serious headaches. I know it was withdrawals, stuff like that, but it was getting bad. I had anger issues, which is why I had boxing. Because boxing was to physically relieve that anger that I had built up, and I just felt like it was getting worse. And if I didn't box, if it wasn't in the gym, I was the guy that don't talk to, don't be around me. Anyway, so the first guy I went to, therapist, white dude, in the Army, and literally all he did was look down at his notepad and say, And I'm telling you, my life, what's bothering me, what's making me go freaking insane right now, making me go crazy, and dude didn't give a damn. He prescribed me. I think I left that day. Once he prescribed it, I went to go pick it up. 3 or 4 different types of medications, and during that time, I don't even know if I would have taken all mixed. I don't take medication first of all, so I don't even know what would have happened if I would have taken it. The second person I went to, they were a little better, but it wasn't really let me get to know you. What's really the problem? How can I best help you? I didn't really experience someone who actually wanted to sit down and listen to me until met my wife, and we were in DC at the time. So I went to a therapist. It happened to be a woman, first woman I went to, and I told her straight up, look, I don't like you guys. The people I've been to before you, they were pieces of crap. And she's like, look, I understand. She talked who she was, what she can't get on the level of trying to understand, but she's going to hear me out, and we're going to work through this together. So I was like, all right, cool. So in a matter of, it took months for me to actually sit her and actually open that door to want to talk to her. But in the day, she helped a lot. But the what I'm trying to get to is that first step is the hardest step to make for any person, especially with our subject, black male. Because again, I couldn't, when I was young as a kid, I had so much anger built up as a kid, especially the part of Virginia I grew up from, where it's the southern tip between Virginia and North Carolina, and people didn't have no problem calling you. They had no problem being in your face, disrespecting you. So as a kid, having so much frustration, I couldn't go to my parents, because my parents, they were always like, you need to suck it up, and blah blah blah. This is what they went through growing up. Who else could I've gone to? I didn't really have a clique like that growing up as a kid, and even when I got out. So it was like I didn't really talk to people. It wasn't until in the last 10 years that I really started to open that door, and it took the woman who I slept next to, and I used to freak her out. She couldn't look at me. It was like I freak out in bed, my arm come hitting the side of the pillow. She's like, "Yeah, you need to get your ass up and go talk to her, because you got some problems." But that's the hardest part, is the first step. And it's like, how do you, for someone who doesn't have someone to push them, if you're by yourself and you're going through so much shit, so much stuff, how do you get to that first step? How do you get past? How do you open that door to want to talk to someone?
Prior to this,
The sad part is like the sad part is a lot of people, unfortunately, aren't going to get to that first step. And that's the sad reality, because just like you said, if there isn't someone outside of you who has that awareness and who's pushing and encouraging you, it's kind of hard when you're not in a good state of mind or state of being already to say, well, hey, I need this. Some people do. A lot of people do stop themselves and say, hey, I need help. I need some outside assistance. They do have that self-awareness, but a lot of people at the same time, they don't have that. In my opinion, a general rule of thumb when it comes to therapists in general is if you go to your session and you leave your session feeling worse than you came, it's probably not the therapist for you. Not saying that one session is going to fix everything, but you should be leaving your sessions with some type of clarity. And even if you do have a sense of confusion as to what happened, you should be able to look back at that and gain some type of clarity for your next session. And if you think about it in the long term, when a person comes to their therapist, right, they have all of this baggage. Let's say you're 35, it's your first time seeing your therapist. You have 35 years of stuff going on that you're bringing in with you. And then from session to session, from week to week, your life still is happening, right? So therapy is not necessarily the end all to be all, but it opens the door to enable you with those coping skills that you need to be able to tackle life week in and week out when you're not with your therapist. Yes, depending on whatever your treatment plan says, you're going to also be processing past traumas and whatnot. But like I said, therapy is that door to open to give you those skills and say, well, this is how I'm going to deal with this. This is how I will address this. And this is how I'm going to be empowered for if I face this situation ever again.
I want to capitalize on something that somebody mentioned earlier about, I think it was Anthony and you, Haynes, about Black people not trusting other people, like when it comes to talking to them. I think it's outstanding and not in a good way, just literally astonishing that while we don't trust our circle, when we do go through those doors for therapy, how even if it takes a couple weeks, even if it takes a couple months, in Anthony's case, you're more willing to trust somebody you've only known for so long in your life than those that have been in your life the whole time. Now, unfortunately, I've never had a steady group of people that's been around for my whole life. My circle is constantly changing, constantly since day one. And it's, I think we're gonna go a long ways with helping each other, promoting therapy, promoting people. If you see somebody needs counseling, promoting that shit. Like, tell them, hey, you don't need to go see a therapist, but you need to go write something down. For me, I'm telling everybody that I know, you need to go see a therapist. You need help. You need Jesus. You need all kinds of stuff. So, but now I do before, let's see, we're about 40 minutes in this thing. So I'll go ahead and get back to the African subject. What about him wanting to know if you just need a white therapist or black? And the reason this came up, just so y'all know, is because my therapist, he's a white guy, but he's chill as shit. And why he may not be able to, he's a psychologist, first off, a psychologist, however y'all pronounce it, but he's not an actual psychiatrist. And he lets me talk about and say whatever the hell I want to say. And I have no restrictions as long as I don't threaten anybody. We're good. Like those fatal things that make you not be able to go home. So, but he sits there, he listens to me, and he never tries to convince me that I'm feeling wrong, if that makes sense. He never tries to pressure upon me. You need to do this to get out of this mindset. No, he'll hear what my problem is, and then he'll more so challenge me in an objective way of thinking. Because I like to think that I think objectively all the time. Fact is, I don't. I think in a damn circle, and that is just a 360-degree circle. Ain't no room for movement. So he'll say, all right, well, what if you thought about it this way? You think that will help, or do you think that'll hurt? And he'll honestly be like, what do you think? Does that help, or would that hurt? And then I'm sitting here marinating on that shit for 2 weeks. Sometimes I hate his ass because of it, because I'm like, how much shit thinking about my day, and I'm trying to think about this. Meanwhile, when I go back to talk to him, I'm like, hey, doc, that was worse. And he says, well, you learned though, didn't you?
Exactly.
He's teaching me to think more than just in that circle. There's a thing that I used to tell people: men, we think in circles, women think in figure eights, and that's where women come and make us think outside this circle. And yeah, it's just like so. But in a nutshell, that's what therapy is for me: is to get me out of my circle. It's to get me out of my circle, challenge me to maybe when I talk to Haynes, when I talk to Hardy. It's kind of like they get me out of this circular thought of misery that I am subconsciously putting myself in. And it is a form of therapy. So I do have that outside of my therapist. But, again, like some of us need it more than others, But to answer your question right off rip, no, it don't matter if you got a black or white therapist. If you want a damn black therapist, say you want a damn black therapist for your reasons, nigga, not mine.
No, the reason why I asked the question is all right, so we all agree that most of this is conditioning, right? The same reason why you want to see a black person or like a black therapist because you feel like he will be the one to best listen to what you got to say, or he has to feel about what you've gone through, right? That's the conditioning. It might not necessarily be true. It might be like as you said, your doc was white or whatever he is, he listens to you. So that's why I asked the question, because I want to see it from you guys' perspective. Is it something out there where, like, no, I don't talk to a white dude. I want to talk to a black dude because we from the same hood, or he came up. Like, I want to know if that's the main thing, that's the selling point, or it's just you got to talk to who listens to you.
This is directed at you, Haynes. On why you ask for a nigga.
I would say for me, the good thing about therapy, you can have whatever therapist you like, and it's really whoever makes you feel comfortable for your particular situation. For me, I was dealing with the black experience as a black male, so I wanted to see another black male that lived through the black experience, and that was the issues that I came to address. But for people that's going, whoever you feel most comfortable with, it's like trying on a new car or trying on a new shoe. Like, what works for you may not work for me. Like, Marcus loved his therapist. It works for him. But I may not deal with Marcus' therapist too heavy. And that's the beautiful thing about therapists, is that it's enough of us out there where you can pick the one that works for you. And all therapists have their own niche. Like, my niche is working with African-American males. Which may be working with African-American females. JT niche might be working with youth. All of us have our niche to where even if you came to me as a white male and that's not my niche, I would probably refer you to someone else that is better skilled in that department, not because I can't work with you, but I studied and I crafted my skill set in a particular area to market to that particular group of people.
Let me, Latoya, I know you want to go because I can tell on your face you got some good stuff.
Right.
But before we get just a little bit, I got two things. First of all, let me say this: there are some therapists that are trash, and I've seen people where they're legit like, "Oh, I got this credential, I'm this, I'm that." I wanted to use some choice words and call them out and be like, "You legit trash. I've seen you, and you need to do better." Like, for real, for real. The other thing is, well, before I get there, don't just go blindly selecting the therapist because they have the credential behind their name, like, oh, they this, they that, or whatever. Like, you should definitely challenge them and try them. Which leads me to my next point of, why do we blindly go and trust these people whom we've never met before until our session, and we trust them with our deepest, darkest secrets, but we don't trust other people? Like, we literally go in a therapy session blind, and then like we openly trust them, like they gonna give us all the answers, and it's just about like my life is about to change, and you don't know them from the next dude on the street. That's my question.
Go ahead. I got one thing.
I want to speak to that.
You gotta think about it like this. Like, all right, so your mom and dad, right? You don't want them judging you, obviously, right? Those are probably the closest people that are gonna be towards you. Because of the people that raised you. You know, they've seen you ever since obviously you were born all the way to you being who you are now. So that's what I think that's what it comes down to. Like, you don't want those people judging you. And when you're pretty much going out speaking to someone that you don't know, you kind of assume that their job is to pretty much either support what you're saying or give you some type of advice or feedback, but their opinion isn't going to harp on you as much as your mom and dad judging you. Like, I'm going to disown you because let's say you had sex underage or something like that. So that's why I personally, go ahead.
Go ahead. To answer that, in my opinion, like when you choose to talk to a therapist over talking to people who are naturally close to you, it's kind of like when people go on vacation, right? And they like develop this alter ego where they just free and they just doing whatever, and then they come back to their regular life and everything is, business as usual, right? It's like that sense of feeling free and that sense of finding comfort in speaking to someone who you don't know. And even deeper than that, you're speaking to somebody who you believe to be a professional. So in your mind, you're thinking that at least if I do tell this person my deepest, darkest secret, they have something constructive at least to say back to it. So, and then to go on to the whole Black versus white therapist, instead of asking why, I would honestly ask why not? Like, why do I not want a white woman as my therapist? And I personally know my reasons of not necessarily wanting a white female as my therapist, and that comes from personal life experiences. I guess I could say personal traumas with white women. So the lack of trust is there, but I recognize that. So with that being said, when it comes to choosing whether you're better suited with a Black therapist because you're Black, that's just a surface issue. When you get deeper, and you realize whether that person's experiences match up with your experiences, their mindset or their mentality matches up with yours, that's where the relationship, the therapeutic relationship, actually makes the difference. Because we all know this. You could be talking to all of us on here. It's called agree to disagree. We all have opinions, whether we either agree, disagree, or what have you. So with that being said, it's a little bit deeper than the skin color issue, but I definitely do, in my personal opinion, feel more comfortable talking to women who grew up like I grew up. So with that being said, I could see a Black therapist and I could say, yes, I want to meet with her because she's a Black female. She's going to understand me. And then when I sit down with her and we're talking about experiences from two different economic backgrounds, and it's like, you don't know nothing of what I went through, ma'am. And that's something that would likely make me to find a new therapist. So it's a lot. It's a lot. You have to have your list of criteria of what you're looking for in a therapist. And it's okay to meet with somebody and say that, oh no, we don't get along, we don't match, let me find somebody else. You have the right to do that. Anytime a client has ever felt any type of way, I tell my clients before I start actually getting like deep working with them, you have the right. You have the right to choose whether I'm the person you're going to take on this journey with you, because at the end of the day, it's your treatment. It's not my treatment. I'm here facilitating that treatment, but at the end of the day, it's your journey. So you have the right to say whether I come along with you or not.
I'm going to say something before I go get me another round of therapy real quick. For me, what Haynes said earlier about, what Latoya said about living the experience, the Black experience. For me, my therapy, when I'm looking for a therapist, the best therapist that I've found is because they haven't lived what I've lived through, and they've been intrigued in like the way when I'm sitting down talking to them, even if it's just a pretend look. I ain't gonna lie, I don't give a damn. Even if it's pretend look, they're intrigued to see like what's about to come out of this guy's face. What does he have? And when they hear about I thought I broke my doctor the first time I went there. To be honest with you, I thought I broke his ass. And he probably didn't know half the shit that I was talking about was actually something that happens in the country, happens in the world, happens within the individuals' lives. And then the more I talked to him, it was like every time I talked to him, it's cool for me because he hasn't had these experiences. So you're not gonna give me no stereotypical ass answer. You're not gonna give me no answer that my granddad gave me because he lived this or he lived something similar like it, or my homeboy lived it. He grew up with me. You know, they're not doing it. This is, you know, I got this old ass white man that came from the rich of the rich. You know, like he got into therapy. You know, and now he sitting down talking to a Negro, and he hearing what it's like to be a Negro, and a Negro in the military on top of that. So I told Hardy this earlier. It's crazy. So I'm gonna say I'm bad. Then we'll sit here and say Anthony's bad. I'm bad from my background, the way I grew up, my lifestyle, the things that I've had to overcome. Anthony has his issues from being overseas, combat deployment, like so on and so forth, right? Imagine a motherfucking Negro that had to deal with both them shits. Like straight up, hood, like New Orleans style, and then go overseas, you know, and then come back and somebody say something like, "Hey, you need to go see a therapist." This nigga ain't trying to talk to nobody.
Well, yeah, remember too. That I don't know if y'all remember a few years back, but there was that shooter. It was a and number one thing too, the biggest fear that they fear for a lot of people coming back from deployments was they were going to go back home and get mixed back in with their old, the groups. So the Army's fear was a lot of people. We all know Army got gangs. Army itself is the biggest gang, But anyways, that actually happened. There was a dude who ended up happened to a black guy and a Hispanic male as well. They came home and they called cops. Cops came to I think it was a 7-Eleven or something like that. And he was an ex-Marine coming from war. And dude shot up, I think he killed like 2 cops and shot up like 3 or 4. Just waiting for him. But it happened. You got the brothers who coming from a back childhood, joined the military, infantry, some type of combat MOS specialty, and they get messed up in the head with that. They get back home, and you don't have people pushing you to go and talk to them. So now you got these guys that are just like ticking time bombs. Not to put people business out there. We had one guy from our deployment. It was on the news. I know him very well. I knew his wife as well. He goes home and they argue, and I guess he drank, and they were drinking a lot. She was like Irish, born in London, hardcore Irish. If she drank, she got violent. And he was Mexican white mix, big dude. And one day, this is when he got out. They were drinking one night, wakes up next day, thinks he's having a dream. He runs outside and calls the cops. Cops come, they find him in the woods. And he says, "Please tell me it's a dream. Tell me it's a dream." So what happened? My wife. Where's your wife? She's in the house. Do you mind if we go in the house? Please. We go in the house, come to find his wife on the floor, almost dismembered. Head almost fully dismembered. Her arms were almost fully detached from the body. He was taking medication from the VA and dealing with so many other different things. And unfortunately, he's in jail for 35 to 48 years. In prison, and that's not the first guy it's ever happened to. We have had 20 guys from our units that literally have killed themselves. People that you never think anything was wrong with them. And, had one guy put into an insane asylum for a few years, and he's finally out now. So it's not a joke. And these are people of color, not white people of color, because we don't talk to people. We're told not to talk to people. We're told to suck it up. That's the biggest issue we have in our communities.
So that's oh, no, wait.
No, I'm ready.
You say something.
What?
I got quick. I got 2 things. I want when Marcus play devil's act with him once he get back, and then another thing I want to bring up is Anthony gave a perfect example. Like I said before, I specialize in working with men of color. And one thing I know about us, and we can all agree on as being men of color, is that we don't let everybody in that vulnerable space. Not everybody is previewed to that vulnerable space. Once we let you in that place, it's your responsibility as the provider to take care of it. The moment that you begin to cut up in that space with us, we're going to lock that door, and it's going to be locked for anybody else to come into it. And so the treatment, you let that guard down and let people in. And he said, well, I went to a therapist and it was trash. I went to another therapist, it was trash. And so my wife finally told me I needed to get therapy, and it's working out for me. For me as a therapist, it's like therapy should always be voluntary. It should never be a forced thing. It should never be go because of this reason. It needs to be decided within yourself that I need help and I want to do it on my own accord, because that's when true therapy will take place. Nobody else can tell you, hey, Marcus, go to therapy, or command you to go to therapy, because you're only going to be there because you were told to be there. Therefore, I would never really be able to help you as a therapist, because you're forced into a situation versus you willingly coming to me and saying, hey, I have an issue. Which brings me to my second point, which I want to play devil's advocate with Marcus, is that you said you like your therapist because he has no clue as to your background, and every time he listens to you, it's like he's learning something new about the culture. So for me, I'm asking the question, do you think that's actually really helpful, therapeutic, that he really can't, like he's learning something new about you during your session that he can't necessarily relate to better you as an individual? Or is you just really a show for him or a study for him to learn about the culture?
So with
Your
that,
word.
is the difference between knowing that you're being played as a show or a muse or an act or whatever than somebody is it's you're not, when you're expressing yourself and a person is literally, their feedback is encouraging you to think more objectively and how to improve your way of thinking, then you know you're not just a show. And to be honest with you, even if I am a damn show, because if I'm sitting, whether it's your couch, Latoya's couch, JT couch, damn Anthony pick me up when I'm drunk at the bar, it don't matter who couch I'm on, I know I'm a damn show. Because what I got going on, A, you either go talk to your therapist about, look, Doc, let me tell you about this that I had on my couch. Or B, you're gonna be like, okay, and you're gonna remember that shit for some days on. So me going to see any individual either way, already in my mind, not saying this is what everybody go through, in my mind, I already know I'm subject to be viewed as that show, that topic of conversation when they talking to whatever. It's again, me, if I'm not comfortable, and like you said something earlier, shutting that door, everybody that know me know how that works. That door gets shut, you a motherfucker if you think you about to get it back open. That's the reason, to be honest with you, why I'm okay being by myself more times than none. I hate living in a house by myself, but at the same time, I love that shit, because in my house can't nobody tell me shit.
Hey, but Marcus, but you got to remember too, you tend to go up with the guard already up.
I do. I go up to everybody with my guard up. But you remember, Anthony, it took all of what, maybe 20 minutes before I saw you. Like, we was like, all right, this my dude right here. This my dude. And it's about being able to relate. You got, for me, it's two types of therapy. I can relate with those who I'm around. I'm never gonna be around nobody in my circle that I can't relate to. Yeah. That's a form of therapy. Like you said, writing poetry and stuff like that, Haynes. That's a form of therapy. When I need that help, somebody to get me out this bubble, I'm not seeking the friends that are going to tell me what I want to hear. First off, I ain't got them. I got friends that's always going to tell me what I need to hear. But sometimes even that shit work your nerves too. You just need somebody to coach you into thinking something, like thinking differently.
Yeah,
that's true.
Can I say something?
Yes, you could say something. Okay.
No, so
we only got
no, he's absolutely right. But I want to touch quick, right? So I feel like we focusing way too much on the formal type of therapy, which is go see a therapist, right? I think the informal aspect is to have like your friends. Like personally, I break my friends into groups, right? There are people that you fuck with, like, hey man, let's talk about we're going to talk about football all day. Let's talk about basketball. We talk about sports all day. Then you should have people that you go to, like, hey man, I'm going through this shit. Like, can you help me out? Like, what's your perspective? What do you think about it? So even though you have like a whole universe, like a set of friends, you should have subsets into them. Like you cannot talk to A about B about this stuff, but you can talk to B about this stuff. that is a form of, like, in its way, it's a form of therapy, because you're not throwing your business out there. Like, I know I can talk to Marcus about something that he can relate to, and I can talk to somebody here about something that he can relate to. So because not everybody will have the means or the funds to actually pay $150 or $200 per session, per 40, 30 minutes to for a therapist. Because again, in LA, some charge as high as $500. Not everybody have that. So your friends, like your circle of friends, if you choose your friends wisely, you can actually get some form of therapy from your friends that can help you out. So before they come see either Latoya, I don't know which one, with the three of them, right?
Yeah,
JT, Latoya, or
Haynes.
Richie or Haynes. Yeah. Before they come see you, they've actually had a little background, like, okay, I was going through this and my buddy said this, and you're like, okay, that's good, because that is helping you out. Because before they can accrue the $500 to see you an hour, then it's already gone south.
So for whoever watching, I charge a bottle of Jack Daniels, and I'll listen to any I'll listen to all that shit. You ain't gotta worry about being judged. I am gonna talk about you, but you ain't gotta worry about being judged. I still love you. So you just let me know what time it is. But so we do need to wrap it up right now. Next week we'll be capitalizing on this again. Latoya, I do hope you do come back and you come back.
I will.
And
great time.
We're gonna do this a couple more times. I would want to do at least two episodes on Black mental health, because I think if we could change, not even change, I don't want to change people, but if we could have people educate and have people accept that seeking help is okay, then we're moving in the right direction. So I appreciate everybody for showing up. I appreciate you, JT. You ain't said much. Next time you better come with it, boy. So.
Hey, man, listen, I got plenty to say. Hey, but before we go, like, I think it'll be a disservice if the clinicians and the therapists don't leave one tip before we leave. Like, we talked about a lot of stuff, so just one quick tip before we head out.
I agree, including what's the difference between a psychiatrist and a psychologist?
Let's say that for the
I'll take that one. I'll take that one. So when we talk about tiers of receiving help, at the very bottom tier, we'll start with life coaching, right? A life coach is a person who's going to help you with something that's brief and specific. Like, let me say, I have an issue with overeating and I need to lose 15 pounds. That's something that's very doable. So my life coach can help me with something like that. If I have an eating disorder, that's something a little bit deeper. So I need to go to a therapist who has trained on being able to address the mental process behind that disorder. That's when I would go to a therapist. Psychologists, licensed mental health counselors, licensed clinical social workers, and licensed marriage and family therapists all fall under the same umbrella, because we're able to use talk therapy, but we don't issue medicine. Psychiatrists, they issue medicine. So a lot of times, if a person goes to a psychiatrist, some people are misdiagnosed, and we'll talk about that next episode. Some people are misreferred, and we'll talk about that next episode. Psychiatrists should only be utilized for severe mental illness or pervasive illness, something that's persistent, something that's long going, and something that needs to be medication accompanied with talk therapy. It should never just be medication at all, period. My tip would be check in with yourself, be self-aware, know what you're going through, and try your best to know what you need. And if you don't know what you need, ask for help.
I appreciate it. I just want to say, yeah, you go look that shit up, and you go find that shit in the dictionary for the difference.
You just
go ahead.
That's what
There's one more person that I want to throw in there too. Is your psychotherapist that actually help you process by using techniques other than. And so they use a lot of different approaches, a lot of assessments to help you change your thought process. My tip would be for everybody out there, especially African Americans, spend some time alone with yourself. Even get out the house, go to the woods, go to the mountains, spend some time alone and really ask yourself some questions, like some provoking questions. Ask yourself, is this the life that I really want to live? Am I living the life I want to live? If you feel like you need to cry, go somewhere that no one's going to see you cry. Cry, yell, scream, what you got to do, and be at home with yourself. And if you feel like that's not enough, again, call a good friend or call a therapist and sit down and we'll coach you through it.
Nigga, call 911. Nah, I feel you, dog.
I'll go last.
Hey, JT.
I'll say this. Understand that there are three most important parts about therapy, and I call them the 3 R's: the relationship, and the relationship. That's the most important part about it. And so without that, you're not going to get anywhere. So understand that you need to build a relationship so that you can get to the place that you want to go, whether it's a therapist, a coach, or whatever you want to call them, licensed clinicians, psychiatrists, whomever. The other thing is that before we really get to the help part of it and get what we need, stop minimize your assumptions and your expectations. Like remove that so you can really get to where you need to go. Stop creating a story in your head about whatever it is, because you create the barrier and the resistance within yourself before you really get the help. So that's my 2 cents.
I appreciate everybody being here. You gonna be here next week? You gonna try? You gonna be here next week?
I ain't got nowhere to go. You gonna
I got 8 days left here.
Oh, shit. All right. We'll get there. All right, Anthony, Latoya, JT, Haynes. I will see y'all. I appreciate it. I'm very satisfied with what we got going on tonight. Next week we'll keep going on it. I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good night now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one, man.